Welcome to the Side Action Podcast, the sports gambling show that covers everything in the world of sports betting from A through Z. We'll cover the four major sports, as well as anything and everything in between worth some action, and will increase the size of your bankroll. And here we go.
Welcome to the Side Action, episode 93, episode 24 of season 3. And I am Jim Weglars, a.k.a. Wegs. You can follow me at Wegspool on Instagram or on Twitter.
And I'm Steve Roberts, a.k.a. Action. You can follow me on Twitter at 31sroberts.
Follow the podcast at Side Action Pod on Twitter and also on YouTube. So, Action, how was the weekend? It was, we're the void without football, but we've got college basketball filling things up. I'm sure you're figuring out on golf too, but what have you been up to?
Yeah, a little bit of golf, lots of college basketball over the weekend, and just shoveling snow. I think that's been everything that I've been doing. I saw some photos by yourself that you're doing the same. So It seems to be a pandemic here within the pandemic.
Yeah, it was. So Monday, the weekend wasn't too bad. Played some volleyball. I was supposed to play on Monday. It was President's Day weekend. Had the day off Monday. Very excited. I was supposed to play volleyball in Wisconsin. There's this famous place, Kelly's Bleachers or something, that has 3 or 4 indoor courts. And, Wisconsin's the Wild West. They don't wear masks up there. Yeah. So you basically show up. You can pay $10 and play for like 4 hours, which is really cheap in the volleyball world, indoor. So I signed up to do it with my friends, or agreed to go with my friends. I was going to drive. Supposed to pick the guys up at noon. I woke up in the morning. It was a whiteout. I'm like, I don't think my car is going to make it. When are we leaving? And started asking these questions. Of course, these psychos still went. One of the girls who's just as she says, volleyball addict. I got a 4-wheel drive. I'm like, all right, well, you guys just go. I'm going to chill out because by the time you come back, it's going to be horrible.
Yeah.
So they left around noon. They got there 2:45, pretty late. It's a 90-minute drive anyway. So it took a while. Then on the way back, they played for like 7:30. They didn't get home until after 10. Wow. And I was like, thank God I didn't go because, first of all, the car wouldn't have made it. Second, I was like, I wasn't expecting like a 10-hour adventure. But they played, and good for them. I just was watching the Lord of the Rings movies and then just sitting around, I've done all this medieval stuff. I watched The Last Kingdom, which is a great show on Netflix, and then went to Middle Earth, and now I'm watching Game of Thrones again. I'm doing this whole medieval period piece now.
Nice. Yeah.
So.
Well, we did some rock climbing, not quite as far of a trip, just to Madison Heights, but that was our activity for the weekend.
That's awesome. Well, let's jump into the episode. Nobody wants to listen to my viewing pleasure. Let's talk a couple of notes. One big one in the NFL that you put on. Looks like Carson Wentz is going to your home team, the Colts.
Yeah, I think this was always inevitable based on his relationship with the head coach, Frank Reich, that he was going to move to the Colts. And news broke today that they finally brokered a deal. They're going to trade Wentz for a 3rd-round pick this season and a 2nd-rounder in 22. Although I did read that if he plays more than 75% of the snaps, then it'll become a 1st-round pick in 2022. So kind of a high price. I do not know what the contract status is, though. In my mind, that was always the big hurdle, is his hefty contract. I figure at least year one they're going to have to eat it, right? The $35 million or whatever he's getting paid. Interesting. I think it's a good move for him. I don't know if it's good for the Colts. Obviously the Colts have a great team, so he doesn't have to do as much as he did for Philly. If he can stay within himself, then they could be – they were going to be contenders, whoever got behind center. But I don't know. I'm hoping it works out for your team. It's a competitive AFC, this time around. Well, let's go to the hoops now. We're only talking college hoops, everybody. So hopefully you're getting ready for March Madness because we are, and we're making bets now. One of the notes I had was that Duke freshman Jalen Johnson opts out of the team. Thanks. There's only 3 weeks left of the season. Now, Duke is interesting. They're an interesting case. They're going to be a real interesting case for the tournament. They're probably not in the tournament field right now. Yeah.
But they are playing better. Now, I don't know if that's post-Johnson or not. It's hard to decipher the numbers. But Do you think this is really a addition by subtraction with this freshman?
Yeah, initially it seems to be. I think that it's been 2 games now, if my count is right, and they've rolled off 2 big wins. They beat North Carolina State by 14 the other night, and then on Wednesday, last night, just pummeled Wake Forest. Now, these 2 teams aren't quite anywhere near the top of the ACC, probably 2 of the worst teams in the league. So we'll see what happens this coming Saturday against Virginia. Then I'll have an answer for you.
Right. I do think it's probably better for them. Distraction aside, I guess this guy, it's the one and done rule, right? And this guy is the epitome of it. I read some tweet, I can't remember who it was, Doug Gottlieb or somebody, who said that he was on 3 different high school teams.
Wow. One of those.
2 different ACU or AAU teams. Like, it's just the guys. It's kind of that epitome. I'm a basketball coach. As people maybe don't know, I do coach. I haven't coached this year because of the pandemic, but it's just sad what's happened with basketball. I love basketball quite a bit, but the AAU culture and this go wherever you want to go, kind of like a mercenary type thing. It just doesn't work for college basketball for sure. Obviously, in the NBA, you can see people doing it all the time. These guys are the best, and they're making a ton of money. But so, yeah, I think Duke, they might have a chance to make the tournament now. That's the way I look at it. So
possibly, yeah. They're going to need a few more wins, though. If you ask me today, I think they're outside.
Yeah, they're out.
Along with a lot of other blue bloods, Michigan State, Kentucky. Could be a very interesting tournament this year without some of those names.
Yeah, Michigan State, I think it's 23 years in a row they've made the tournament. They're basically out unless it's a miracle. Well, let's go over the Action Index, and I love that Action is thinking ahead. He's already put in some title odds for all of our top 12 teams here for Bovada. I don't know, is there any – why don't you review just the normal Action Index, and then we can kind of talk about these futures.
Yeah, Gonzaga and Baylor. The thing that I did notice at the top here was that Gonzaga is stretching their lead out a little bit ahead of Baylor. Yeah. They were neck and neck quite a bit. Baylor is on a COVID hiatus, so that certainly doesn't help their rating. And you have Gonzaga that's playing in the West Coast Conference, in which they can pick up rating points every night. So, but the interesting thing that I had here is Gonzaga would be 9 points better than Michigan, the third-rated team in my index, on a neutral. And I just can't see that being a realistic point spread in the NCAA tournament.
No, I don't either. I mean, there's other good teams here. Houston's a good team at 5, just to give the odds. So Gonzaga is plus 275 to win the title, as is Baylor plus 275. Michigan at plus 650. Iowa at plus 1,600 at 4 in your list. And then Houston at plus 2,000. I mean, they're a full 10 points lower. That is I guess they're about the same as no, that's full 10 points, So Illinois, who's obviously caught some steam, they're, a local team for me, plus 1,500, but they're again almost a full 10 points off in your index here, which is, it's going to be an interesting tournament. I don't know if the competition level that the Zags play during the year, in their regular season is going to translate.
Yeah.
Because they're just crushing teams, obviously, in the West Coast. Whereas Baylor, Michigan, all these teams we're talking about have really tough conferences. I mean, Houston's, it's not as good in the AAC this year. I wanted to note one of the teams at number 9 that we've kind of mentioned before, we'll talk about in the recap, the Loyola Ramblers, plus 4,000, and they're 9th on the Action Index. Yes! Let's do this, Ramblers.
Yeah, moving on up, and I was surprised at how well they played against Drake on Saturday. And then, of course, they came back and lost the game on Sunday. The old zigzag crops their head up. But, I think the first game there on Saturday really was the telltale sign for that Loyola team. And the defense that they played against Drake was outstanding.
Yeah, they're the third ranked. I think they're third, right? Is that? Wait, am I wrong? Let me look at this. Oh, they're first. No, they're first in defense. Now, granted, again, we talked about last week that strength of schedule doesn't factor into the KenPom rating, and not necessarily your rating either, right?
Yes,
Action?
Correct.
So, a little grain of salt, but they play really good defense. I mean, the last 2 games that they played, including the second Drake game, it was like in the 50s, The other team I wanted to note here is a team that I have an eye on, so this is the value team I like. I don't know if I can get it. But USC at 10, plus 3,500. They've been on a roll. I like them a lot. Now, granted, I know you downplay the Pac-12 a lot, but this team has some talent. They're getting it done out there, and I really think they could be at least an Elite Eight team this year.
Yeah. I mean, the old adage is for national title contenders, they got to have a top 25 defense and a top 25 offense. And right now, USC fits that bill, 11th ranked on D and 19 on offense. So they certainly fit the category.
Right. Now, there are several teams that fit that category this year, but yes, definitely. So I don't know if there's any other teams that you like in terms of the future side besides, I mean, we've talked that we think that the two top teams are great. I mean, where would you put your money right now if you had to do something outside of those top two?
To be honest, I have been eyeballing Ohio State and doing a little searching here lately, shopping for some numbers. And currently at 12-1 that we have here on the list is a little too short for my money. But I'm going to be continuing to monitor them over the next couple of weeks and see if maybe they take a little spike. I'd like to get them closer to 18 or 20-1 if possible.
Sure. It's another game that we talked about last week that I was on the wrong side of, but Florida State jumps into the top 12 here where Virginia falls out. Florida State plus 2,000. They were on a COVID hiatus and came back. They were a little rusty in they actually had a game before the UVA game, which probably helped them. And they kind of rocked and rolled against Virginia. That's another team I might like. I mean, plus 2,000, 20-1, at least for maybe a Final Four berth. You know, who knows?
Yeah.
Well, let's go over the recap last week. Sorry, America. We actually went 4-5. We failed you. We've had a roll so far. We slowed down. Hopefully you listened to all the recommendations here, and because some of them was like the first half Badgers. But come on, Bella Marine, man. This. We put them on the show. We got them their shot, and they blew it. They won the game, though, right? They just did cover?
They did, yeah. And I was actually watching this one on Friday night, believe it or not, on my ESPN Plus.
I'm not surprised.
It was on one of my 5 split-screen TVs, and Bellarmine was dominating.
Sure.
I hate to say woulda, coulda, shoulda, but they were legitimately up 20 points in the second half. And they just had a late run by North Alabama, and they couldn't get the cover. They ended up winning the game, but didn't win by 6. So we'll take an L.
The other one, Loyola, we just talked about them. They destroyed Drake in the first game on Saturday, but then the second game they did fall in overtime, so kind of a split thing though. But they take control of the Missouri Valley. We'll see if both those teams have a chance to make it. Statistically speaking, Loyola, besides Ken Pom, the net rank, they're really good too. So I think they're pretty firmly in the field right now, but we'll see how it plays out. A couple of the negative ones here. Indiana didn't come through for us. Ohio State and your guy that you mentioned last time, E.J. Liddell, is just beasting right now, isn't he?
Yeah, the Buckeyes played really dominant on Saturday, and they really just took the physicality of the game straight to Indiana, and the Hoosiers just had nothing in return. It was a big L.
Right. A game that was probably, I would say West Virginia's been a part of maybe 2 or 3 of the best games this year so far. West Virginia was playing at home against Oklahoma. They were a 3-point favorite. It ended up taking 2 overtimes, and the Sooners actually pulled the win out, just like you said last week. This team, they're tough. They're tough. But West Virginia, they're playing these great games. They lost 2 points against Texas. That was a thriller. They beat Texas Tech in a thriller, and this was just a back-and-forth game. Going those 2 overtimes, it was a fun watch.
Yeah, great game. Unfortunate that it was on ESPN Plus, but it was a fantastic outcome.
Yeah. Then a couple of ones we got right was the Auburn-Kentucky. Although Kentucky got the win in this one, Auburn was a 3-point dog on the road. But per our comments last week, Kentucky got the win, 81-80, but they didn't get the cover. So good for Coach Cal on getting a cover, but they couldn't get it done overall. And then Creighton, it's my team, man. I told you, Creighton took down Nova at home. They just kind of destroyed the Wildcats in that Big East matchup, which, Creighton can really play.
Yeah, Zagorowski was awesome on Saturday. I caught a little bit of this one. And the Villanova defense was very disappointing, something that I put away in my brain for future reference, that Villanova just doesn't have it on the defensive end this year.
Not this year. They are ranked, at least when I pulled it on maybe Wednesday, to 90th. That's not good.
Yeah.
So they can score with anybody, but if it comes to defensive stops, they can't get it done. Now, this is the game I was mentioning. I hope you listened to the entire episode. So Wisconsin was playing Michigan. Michigan was coming back off the hiatus, and they did exactly what Action said they would do. They played like crap in the first half. The Badgers were winning, I think, by 12 at halftime, but just flipped a switch in the second half and destroyed Wisconsin. I mean, what the hell happened? Wisconsin was a 1-point dog at home, but I mean, obviously they couldn't cover the big number, but they covered the halftime number.
Yeah, I can tell you exactly what happened. It was the defense. The first half, Wisconsin was making everything, and it didn't really appear that Michigan had their legs under them quite yet, but something happened in that locker room at halftime. I'm guessing there was a Juwan Howard speech in there, and they came out and just dominated on defense in the second half. And I also read later that both of Wisconsin's big men, Potter and the other white guy, I can't think of his name, 0 rebounds between them on Saturday or Sunday. So that is not going to help any wins in the Big Ten.
That's not going to get it done. And in the tournament, they got to rebound well, I mean, to win games, especially in a tight one. And then the last game, we talked about this one. I thought that I was on the right side here with Virginia going to Florida State, being like a 1-point underdog on the road. And in this one, the Noles just destroyed Virginia. I mean, it wasn't even close. I flipped on the game late in the first half. They're down by like 24 points. I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, wait, what happened on the Virginia defense, let alone the offense? So it looks like Florida State, the layoff didn't hurt them too bad.
Yeah, I think they had that spot circled too. They always play well against Virginia, it seems like, and that was just another opportunity for them.
Right. Well, let's go into some games. We like to highlight some of our favorite picks and then some of the key games. We like the Friday night action. I know Action does. He'll have this on and one of the screens. He's got St. Louis at Dayton. St. Louis is a 5.5-point favorite on the road at Dayton. If I'm not mistaken, Dayton beat them last time. But you look like you like the Billikens in this one.
Yeah, I've been looking to play on St. Louis since they've come back from their COVID hiatus. And they started out a little slow, a lot like other two teams have recently. But now they are really racking off some victories. They've won 2 straight and covered 3 out of 4. And in the last 2 games, they beat LaSalle by 21 and Fordham by 28. So it's looking to me like they're hitting their stride again. And beyond that, the stats just tell me they're going to have a significant advantage on the glass against Dayton. They rack 35% of their offensive rebounds, where Dayton is only 28% on the defensive glass. So add it all up along with St. Louis's defense, and I think that they're going to win this game easily. In fact, I think in my numbers, I make it a 10-point spread. So laying 5.5 is a no-brainer.
Right. Okay. You heard it here. The other one that you've already bet on, I think, is the zigzag theory of the Mountain West. Utah State is at Boise State again. They played last night, and Boise won. About 7 or 8. It was a similar spread, about 1 and 1.5, 2 points, and Boise covered pretty easily. But you think the Aggies are going to bounce back? Of course, needing the win. You like Utah State in this one?
Yeah, I'm going to be playing Utah State. Full disclosure, bet them last night at a similar number, plus 1.5, and they did not get it done. Although they led in portions of that second half. It wasn't until about the 9 or 10 minute mark where Boise State took control and ended up winning by 9. But Namus Keita had a huge game last night, 32 points and 10 rebounds, and I have every expectation that Utah State can bounce back tomorrow night against Boise. I make this game Utah favored by almost 3, just a hair under 3. So I think 4.5 points off is getting some value here with the road underdog.
Absolutely, and that's been what we've seen a lot of times in these conferences that do these back-to-back spots. It's almost always a split. I mean, it does happen where they can win both games if they're outright better, but these two teams are pretty good. So I can see your spot here. Well, let's go into some of the big games over the next week that we like, or at least we want to take a side on. The first one is in the Big 12. This is Texas Tech at Kansas. This is Saturday at 1 p.m. Central. That's the 20th of February. I like Texas Tech here. It's a short dog. 1 point is what we're showing here. I just kind of feel like this is the time of year when Chris Beard gets his team to fully focus on the season. They've been really good, and really they are statistically better than Kansas, but you know how Kansas is the old guard in this league.
Mm-hmm.
But I would go with the Red Raiders on the road here, despite us talking last week how a lot of times the home teams have been not just winning but covering in a lot of spots.
Yeah, but Kansas is down this year too from where their normal levels are. And, these teams are really evenly matched.
Mm-hmm.
I would concur, though, that Texas Tech is probably the one that's rising up. Kansas has won 4 in a row, but it's been against the dregs of the league, Kansas State and Iowa State twice. So before that, they have had some losses on their resume. And on the flip side, I think Texas Tech is also hitting their stride. So I think this is a good pick with the Red Raiders.
All right. Not sure you're going to go with this one of the Big 12, but this is West Virginia at Texas. This is also on Saturday now at 2 p.m. Central. We're showing this as West Virginia, a 2-point dog on the road to Texas. I mentioned this early in the episode that this was a dogfight earlier that West Virginia lost at home 77-75 to Texas. These teams are really evenly matched. I think it's going to be an incredible game. But I do think I like the Mountaineers. I'll take the points in this case in Austin, even though Texas is sort of, they had a little skid with Shaka Smart being out even when he first came back, finally covered a number. But I would stick with the Mountaineers in this one. What do you think?
Yeah, this one I have a hard time getting on board with you.
Mm-hmm.
This Texas team is very good, and they are much better on offense than West Virginia is.
True.
So I like their interior defense as well. And I think that West Virginia is just a little bit different on the road in the Big 12 play. They have the farthest distance to travel to all these games. And I also wonder if this game is still going to be played, to be quite honest. If looking at the news with all of that's going on in Texas, it seems like a lot of sporting events are getting canceled. So it makes you wonder if there might be a little bit of an edge on your side with the Texas players presumably going through a lot in their personal lives right now in Austin.
Right. A lot of blackouts and all that kind of stuff. That used to snow down there. Your guy, Broccoli Bob, if you saw any of his pictures on social media, he's having his dog run around in the snow. Not typical for this time of year.
I checked in with Rob. He still has power. So Rob and Megan are all good.
Good to know. Good to know. He can still make those bets then. That's what I want to hear. Live betting. All right, well, the next one, let's go to the Big Ten. This is on Saturday as well. This is 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central. Minnesota's going. They're going to be hosting Illinois. You're showing that Minnesota's a 5-point dog at home, but you're going against my Illinois squad in this one, the Golden Gophers.
Yeah, I think I'm going to play against Illinois in this one. It goes against my numbers a little bit, which I'm typically not apt to do, but this is kind of a two-sided play. First off, you've got a Minnesota team who has been beating lots of worthy opponents at home this season. I think, in fact, all of their Big Ten wins have come at home on the season, and they have 0 wins on the road. So getting back home after 2 straight losses on the road against Maryland and Indiana. And on the flip side, this Illinois team just has not been getting up for some of the inferior opponents in the league. The last 2 times out, they failed to cover against Nebraska and Northwestern. So I think that this is a really good spot for Minnesota coming back home off of those 2 losses, and they are themselves on the bubble and in desperate need of a victory. So I expect they'll come out and play with fire on Saturday.
Would you sprinkle a little money line on this one?
I don't think that's a bad idea at all. I believe that Minnesota is definitely going to be a live dog and worthy of winning this game.
Right. I mean, +5, it must be it'll be a decent line there.
Yeah.
Decent money line.
Definitely over 200, likely.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've got Virginia in the ACC. We don't talk about the ACC much this year because there's not many good teams, but Virginia is going to Duke. This is Saturday, the Saturday night game, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. You like the Wahoos to bounce back against this kind of surging Duke squad. Those were 2 bad teams they played, but you think Duke is Virginia is the play here, laying 2 at Cameron.
Yeah, I do. My numbers here make this one right at 2 for Virginia, so no significant edge there in the technical data. But this, for me, is just fading against this Duke recent run here, and I think that if you get a number of 2, it's going to be a little short. And Duke just hasn't really been the same Duke at home this year. They've failed to cover in a number of games. They only have 2 covers on their resume at home against Georgia Tech and Clemson in league play. And I think that Virginia is going to be looking to get things right after that loss to Florida State on Monday.
Right. It's pretty atypical for Duke to be, I mean, they're in the top, I got them at 36 in KenPom, but their defense is 84th. I mean, that's bad. That is not getting it done. And you figure Virginia has they have enough balance and strength to score with them. They're really better statistically, offensively. So we'll see. I mean, I'd be curious to see how they play. This is like you said, the big spot without the freshmen now off the team. Maybe they rise up, but I can see that short number would be attractive.
And also crunching these numbers, I think that you may have a little value on the over in this game too, given Duke's recent defensive lack of defensive ability, and Virginia's ticked up offense this season. You often see suppressed totals in their games, so I might look at the over as well.
For sure. This is one I like, and it's an interesting game. We'll talk about it. This is not a football team game, by the way. It's Michigan and Ohio State. The big rivalry game. This is on Sunday at noon Central, 1:00 Eastern. So you're showing it Michigan as a 1-point dog at Ohio State. Now Ohio State's been playing great. There's no question. They're balling, but this is the showdown. These are the two. This and Illinois are the 3 best teams, right? So I think Michigan's better. But can they stop the red hot, E.J. Liddell and this Buckeye team?
Yeah, so you're on the Michigan side, right?
I am. I'm on the Michigan side.
I think that's the pick. We talked about it. We were both on Wisconsin over the weekend and looking to fade Michigan coming out of the break, but they proved us wrong, and I was supremely impressed with that win on Sunday. And I tell you, I can't wait for this game this coming Sunday against Ohio State. It's going to be epic. And I do think that Michigan is the superior team. I've got them about 3 points better in my numbers. And I think their defense is going to come to play and shut down that Ohio State offense.
Right. And just for, people that follow this kind of stuff like us, Ohio State's 4th best offense, efficiency-wise in KenPom, but they're 60th on D. So I keep pointing this out. I'm a defensive guy, and Michigan is 7th offensive and 8th defensively. So it's just a matchup we know that Michigan's going to be able to score. It's, can they slow down that offense, and we think they can. So
yeah, otherwise pretty much even across the board. Rebounding is even. They're both top 30 free throw percentage shooting teams. And really the only discrepancy that you see is the Michigan defense versus the Ohio State defense versus the Michigan offense.
Right. All right, a couple more games here. Texas, go back to the Big 12 on Tuesday. Texas is going to host Kansas in this one. I'm picking on Kansas a little bit here, action. This is at 8:00 Central on Tuesday. I like the Longhorns in this one hosting. I know I was against them in West Virginia, but I'm for them here. You're showing them as a 3-point favorite at home. I don't know if Kansas will lose 2 straight games, though, in the Big 12. That's my only fear about this one. But I do think the Longhorns are a better team, and they're going to big boy this Kansas front line.
Yeah, I think that this Texas interior is going to have a pretty big advantage against Kansas as well. And especially coming back home, too, I think that Texas is definitely a good play here.
Right. The last game is to the SEC, and no, we're not talking football again. Arkansas versus Alabama. Arkansas is red hot. This is on Wednesday at 8:00 Central. So the Razorbacks have won 7 straight SEC games. I don't know if you knew that, action. But they are basically 7-1 in their last 8 games. Their only loss was against Oklahoma State. The last loss in the SEC, and really last loss in that stretch, besides Oklahoma State, was against Alabama. Alabama nuked them in that game. They destroyed them. So it may not be the right side. Maybe it's a matchup issue, but I think Arkansas has got them going. If I'm not mistaken, this is Musselman's team, right? Mm-hmm. And so I really like him as a coach. I think they're playing a good style of basketball. Metrically, Alabama's probably better, but I think if they're getting points at home, I'd like that a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I think you've picked out a great spot here. Alabama's defense is second best in the nation, but
Mm-hmm.
if there's any coach that can develop some schemes to get his players shots, it's Eric Musselman. He's definitely a coach that I like to back as frequently as I can, and I think that playing on Arkansas at home as an underdog is a really good pick here. So
Right.
I like your pick.
Well, in Arkansas, I mean, one of the things I track action when I go week over week is how many spots they go up, like in a given week. I mean, I only check about once a week. So it's one of these things that when I look at, teams that are just on a, white hot, maybe they fall. But Arkansas has jumped up like 5 spots in a week. That's a lot, especially because they're already in the top 26, So teams like Loyola jumped a lot. They jumped a lot. Your team LSU jumped a lot. They had 15 spots. And some of it has to do with who they played, but I just think they're a team to watch for sure.
Yeah, and Arkansas at 17-5 against the spread. Certainly winning money if you're back in them all season.
Nice. Should have been backing them earlier. Okay, well, that wraps out our spots. It's a much shorter episode. We don't talk about football, I guess, action, but let's just do a Vegas trip update. We may or may not have another person who's coming. We'll see, but we're open to anybody who wants to make it. Again, we're going the 17th through the 21st. Actually, I'll be there 17th through the 20th. We're going to be at Stadium Swim on Friday from 12 to 5. That's Vegas time to watch the games in the first official round of the tournament. So I'm pretty excited. We're only just under 4 weeks away. So we're ready for the tournament, and I got to start doing my bracketology. I've been tracking my teams, but I haven't done the bracketology. I like to go against Joey brackets, but I haven't quite done that yet. This weekend, I'm going to do that for the first time.
All right. Well, I'll have to report on that next week to see what the brackets look like. But can't wait for the pool time specifically and the warm weather. Tired of the snow. I think it's snowed every day since February rolled around. So
it's been, I think it's 33, we're snowing again today, 33, 34 inches of snow in 3 weeks. This is ridiculous, dude.
Yeah.
I'm a Chicagoan. I do dibs, as everybody follows me on Instagram. I've got the dibs spot. I got my car all clean, and when I leave it, I put the old folding chair. Like, nobody's taking my spot, dude. I will break your mirror, I will keel your car. But but still, I mean, dude, like, this is nuts. I mean, it's nice to break records and all, but I'm ready for the warmth. My sister lives out in Vegas, as you know,
Oh, yeah.
and they're telling me how it's 75 degrees and all this stuff, and I'm like, I'm trying to get my pool body on, man. I'm trying to work out get this body in shape, not to embarrass action out there. So, got to be looking good. So we got Prime, and I haven't gotten a nickname for Brandon, but I have some ideas, and then hopefully my other buddy comes through.
Yeah, the pool is definitely calling our names.
All right, everybody. Well, we'll follow the podcast at Side Action Pod on Twitter and also on YouTube. Follow me at Wegspool on Twitter and Instagram.
And follow me on Twitter at 31sroberts.
All right. Good luck this week.
Good luck, everyone. Peace out. That's a wrap for this episode of the Side Action Podcast. We appreciate all of your listens and thank you for joining us. We'll see you all again next week on Thursday for some more hot picks and side action. Side Action Podcast, its owners and associates take no responsibility for the opinions or statements made by the show hosts or their guests. Statements or show topics are not necessarily the beliefs of this podcast, and opinions between talk show hosts may conflict. Individuals following the advice given on the podcast accept their own risk of losses from wagers made. As the Side Action Podcast, its owners, hosts, associates, or guests will not guarantee any advice given. The opinions and advice given on the Side Action Podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Intro and outro and transition music credits. Song titles Jerry 5 and District 4 by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.org. Licensed under Creative Commons Attribution 3.0. creativecommons.org/licenses/by 3.0.